Sorry.
Ticket in the hamper? Anybody want to buy a ticket in the hamper? Sure we do, I've had that sort of comment past before, I don't know Don't worry.
Was founded in 1989 to supervise the installation of this bell. Its main function today is organising the annual World Peace Day celebration, which falls on the third Tuesday in September each year. On that important day, the ringing of peace bells marks the opening of the disarmament session of the United Nations. This bell weighs 477 kilograms and was cast from the mountain.
Ladies and gentlemen, the raising of the flag will now take place. Thank the members of the Cowra NSW for assisting us with this. Ladies and gentlemen, flag raising. Now move across to the 12th peace bell. And the peace bell this morning will be rung by the Mayor, Councillor Bill West, the Australia Day Ambassador, Mrs Valerie Parr, and the Chairman of the Peace Bell Committee, Mr Ian Brown. They will then be followed by the high school captains, who will announce when they're ready to do their bit.
This is Australia's World Peace Day. It was awarded to Cowra for the Shire's contribution over many years to the aims of world peace and its commitment to international understanding. Of great special relationship with Japan as a consequence of the tragic breakout of Japanese servicemen from Cowra's prisoner of war during the Second World War. 231 Japanese
The peace bell will now be rung by the school captains.
If you wish to learn more about the Day, visit the Cowra Visitor Information Centre and see the amazing hologram-like display that will take you back to that tragic early morning in August 1944. In 1954, the first World Peace Bell was installed in the forecourt of the United Nations headquarters in New York City. His Excellency Rear Admiral Peter officially launched Australia's World Peace Bell on September 15, 1992. The World Peace Bell Association is a non-political, non-sectarian organisation and was established to promote international peace and to keep the people of the world fully aware of the problems of war. The association uses the bells to remind people of the continual need for vigilance and rededication to the work that must be done for us to achieve world peace. The Australian chapter of the World Peace Bell Association based in Cowra was founded in 1989 to celebrate the
ladies and gentlemen, we'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, thank you for being with us today to celebrate Australia Day. My name is Ray Walsh. I have the privilege of being your MC this morning. I now like to introduce and welcome to our Cowra Shire Australia Day service the Mayor of Cowra Shire Council, Councillor Bill West, the Australia Day Ambassador, Ms Valerie Parr, Councillor Bruce Miller, who's co-chair of the Australia Day Committee, my fellow councillors, General Manager Cowra Shire Council Paul Devery, Chairperson of the Cowra Clergy, Minister Stephen Moore, nominees for the 2019 Australia Day Awards and their friends and families, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I now ask Gemma Picconi to come to the stage and lead us in the singing of the Australian National Anthem. Thank you, Gemma. Thank you, Gemma. I now invite Minister Stephen Moore to come to the stage, please, to say the prayer for the nation.
Thanks, Ray. Let me lead us in prayer. Let's pray. Our Lord God, our loving Father, we do thank you for this great and peaceful nation that we have the privilege of living in. We thank you for the security, stability and affluence that we are all blessed with. Today we do bring before you our governments, the leaders and authorities that you've put over us. We pray for our national leaders, our state leaders and our local leaders here. We ask that you would please give them much wisdom to govern us with excellence. Please help them to manage our resources and economy well. Please help them to be wise stewards of this country so that we can continue to live in peace and harmony with one another. And we also ask, Father, that you'd not only give our leaders economic wisdom, but that you'd please give our leaders hearts of compassion and generosity for those less fortunate than ourselves. Help them and help us to look after the vulnerable. And we ask all of this through Jesus the King. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Stephen. In welcoming everyone here today, I also wish to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet here today and acknowledge their elders, both past and present. I now ask Mayor Bill West if he would give his Australia Day speech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first acknowledge you and your council, Australia Day Committee Co-Chair, Councillor Bruce Miller, and also acknowledge my councillor colleagues, and I think most of them are in the room this morning. Also acknowledge our Australia Day Ambassador, Valerie Parv, AM, and extend a welcome to her, the nominees, the recipients of the various awards, special guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I would firstly acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and I pay my respects to their elders, both past and present. I would extend to each and every one of you here today a special welcome to the Australia Day celebrations, and thank you for being part of it. It's a very important day in our local and national calendar, and it is tremendous to have it so well supported, and a lovely sight to stand here and so many members of our community being involved. Of course, it's special to acknowledge those organisations who have committed to this morning and throughout the day. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you. Further, it's a special pleasure to extend a heartfelt and very warm welcome to our Australia Day Ambassador, Valerie Parv, AM, who I, of course, will introduce to you in the near future and very shortly. But Valerie, whilst you are here in official capacity as Australia Day Ambassador, I would assure you that you will always be welcome in our community, and it'd be delightful to see you back to have a visit at a more leisurely pace and look around what we think is our beautiful part of the world. At this point, I would also take the opportunity, and it's appropriate, to acknowledge the work of Australia Day Committee. I already mentioned the co-chairs, but also Lisa Robinson and Linda Barron, who have put many hours of work into organising the day, not just this morning, but the day, and without their hard work, I think these events would not be possible. So Lisa and Linda, I just say simply thank you very much. Today it is expected that some 6 million Australians will attend an organised Australian Day event across the continent. It is arguably the biggest celebration, and one of the biggest celebrations in the country on an annual basis. In Cowra Shire, there are a range of celebrations and activities, both here and in some of our villages. Activities planned for our community to get together and be part of our National Day, including, of course, this very Australia Day ceremony. And those activities which have been published, they're also documented in the Australia Day program and will be alluded to as the morning progresses. Australia Day, of course, is a bit more than just a barbecue and a few beers and a public holiday, which as Australians we tend to put back a couple of days, so it's a working day on a Monday to make sure we can celebrate our Australia Day. But more than that, we celebrate our people, our land, our diversity, the Indigenous cultures, our freedom, democracy, and of course a sense of fair go. But no matter how you celebrate on Australia Day, January 26 is an opportunity for us all to consider what it means to be an Australian, to celebrate with the community and friends, and to acknowledge that we all have a role to play in making Australia even better for the future. It's perhaps important to recognise that whilst we celebrate the 26th of January, we ought to remember throughout the whole year what it takes to make Australia a great country to live in, and why we enjoy such a special, unique way of life, indeed, the lucky country. The principles of being Australian have been forged by our forebears, in many cases a result of great hardship. I'm sure we all seek to maintain our proud identity and leave a legacy for future generations who will enjoy with the same pride, freedom of speech, lifestyle as we currently do, but whilst doing that, continue to celebrate the very important cultural diversity of Australia, our people and the land. Being Australian is also about, however, being realistic, facing problems and dealing with them as we head into what sometimes can be an uncertain world. The ethos is being Australia and unite in a positive manner, supporting those who are having a go, and we reflect on some of those this morning, importantly, but supporting those who are having a go, and I think resisting the temptation to look inwards and overly criticise, if I can use a loose terminology, throw rocks at those who are trying their best for our communities and the broader community. We have a further reminder on Australia Day of the wonderful generosity and dedication of members of our own community to our well-being and, of course, the well-being of our broader community. We shortly will acknowledge various individuals and groups who have been nominated in various award categories. They will be recognised, and there will be winners, and there are winners. But perhaps it's an opportunity to reflect on the fact that we're all winners by those who are contributing to our community. I will also thank those who have been involved in the day, and your contribution is immensely important, and I know that our chairman will allude to those a little bit later. As I said, Australia Day, as I said in the past, Australia Day is truly the opportunity to reflect on our national journey, acknowledge our past, rejoice in the present, and look confidently into our future. So I say thank you and welcome to this Australia Day 2019 formal ceremony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I might invite you to get Deanne to do the acknowledgement of country before I introduce our guest speaker.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd now like to invite Deanne Coe to give an acknowledgement to country, please.
Marinyana, give your girabang, you and dirty anko. Jerimandilia, Redri Miga, Nyadu Bangigo Kubara, Redri Manigaling, Yango. Yurbanga, Yagira, Jurinya, Gai. Injamara Nyadi Mudigan. Galgandara, yeah. And what I've said in English is good morning, a lot of men, a lot of women. My name is Deanne Coe. I'm a proud Wiradjuri woman. I'd like to acknowledge Wiradjuri people whose traditional country that this gathering is held on. I pay my respects to my elders before and at present. Firstly, I'd like to state what I say here today opens your eyes to the atrocities which continue to occur in this country, and in hope to bring positive change about for the sake of all life on earth. Our culture never died. It has always been alive within us, and it continues to grow stronger and stronger each day. As I stated earlier, I am a proud Wiradjuri woman, and is the core essence of me. The law states, if you are born of this country, you are responsible for this country. In our language, we call her Nanjanatia, which in your language means earth. Nanjanatia is a place we come for all knowledge and all truths. She's the mother of all. If she does not exist, neither do we. So can someone explain to me why certain humans continue to think it's okay to take from her, rape her, use her and abuse her, and not give back? Humans greed her for money, an object we cannot eat nor drink. Tell me, how do you sleep at night? How will you explain to your children you are part of these atrocities, these ongoing crimes that have been committed, these inhumane acts of injustice? You may ask why I say this. You're probably thinking, I haven't done anything wrong. No one is asking you to apologise for your ancestors. We are asking you to dismantle the systems of oppression they built, you maintain and benefit from, and because you sit back and continue to do and say nothing about it. How is this behaviour beginning to close the gap? The gap has widened dramatically. Bayami, our Creator, who you might call God, has put us here to be keepers of the land, and it has offered, and all it has offered. We belong to the land, and the land belongs to us. It is in our DNA. When will humans learn that everything is connected and has its purpose? Will it be too late? I wish to point out that on 231 years ago, this country was invaded. Genocide was unleashed here in Australia, and still no remorse for the lives lost by greedy people who consider themselves superior to the keepers of this country. The keepers of the land and the land itself has suffered from the hands of these people ever since. We have become resilient to colonisation and the continual disempowerment to live our way and live by our values. The theft and the death of our children still continues at a very high alarming rate. Mind you, the ACT has the second highest rate of forced removal of Aboriginal children. It has been recent that Aboriginal people have been using social media. Why hasn't mainstream media shed light on the fact that 5 Aboriginal girls aged between the ages of 12 and 15 have committed suicide or died after trying to harm themselves in a period of 9 days? If you have children, ask yourself, how would you feel? How would you act if they were your children? Wiradjuri law states children are sacred. They need to be nurtured, protected, and they belong to everyone to treat with kindness and in the highest regard. Then there's intergenerational trauma, because the trauma is passed on from one generation to the next. I'd like to bring to your attention that Wiradjuri Nation was the first nation that the British Empire declared martial law on. The reason for this is we continue to stand strong together for a period of 60 years plus. The fact that Aboriginal people seek recognition and not revenge clearly shows who are the better people here. I'd like to add that non-Indigenous people should not claim that they know what is best for Aboriginal people. You have no idea what we go through every day and the things we have to put up with. I'd like to finish with the fact that the legislative law of this government that govern this country hold no jurisdiction over me. I may get arrested when I walk out the door, but who cares? The government is selling the land, which was stolen and invaded, to foreigners that hold no law or respect for this country. I am who I am. I will never apologise for being me. I do not expect you to remember everything I have said here today, but I hope you will remember these last 7 statements, because our sovereignty never ceded. Everything is connected. Water is life. Children are sacred. Black lives matter. Change the date and pay the rent. Who are you? And Mandangubu.
Thank you, Diane, and I now ask the Mayor, Councillor Bill West, to introduce the Australia Day Ambassador for her address.
Firstly, thank you, Diane, for that acknowledgement of country. It's my pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you our Australia Day Ambassador, Valerie Parv, AM. Valerie is made a member of the Order of Australia in 2015 Queen's Birthday Honours List for her significant contribution to the arts as a prolific author and as a role model and mentor. Her first book was published in 1982, and since then there's been over 70 books published, predominantly I think romance novels, but talking to her last night there is a significant volume of works in other areas which she may allude to. But ladies and gentlemen, our Australia Day Ambassador, Valerie Parv, who's been an Australia Day Ambassador since 2006, and of course for those of you who haven't picked it up, lives down the road just in that beautiful settlement of Young. So she's nearly a local. Ladies and gentlemen, I have pleasure in introducing to you and inviting to the microphone Valerie Parve, AM. Thank you, Valerie.
Good morning, Cowra. Well, thank you. Just making sure you can hear me. Thank you for your welcome there, Bill, and to all the councillors, to the elders, to the Indigenous community who are all Cowra. I'm just so happy to be here, and thank you for having me as your Australia Day ambassador. And also my companion, who's sitting in the front row here trying to not be seen, is Kate Cooper, whom some of you may know from, she's a demon bowler, champion golfer, and I'm sure some of you have met your fate at her hands at different times. So we're both very happy to be here. This is my 13th year as an ambassador, and for me it's lucky 13. Because the more I learned about Cowra as a destination, the more excited I became. And I actually did ask to be able to ring your peace bell because it's such a remarkable thing to have in your town. I see myself as a storyteller. Cowra has been a place of storytellers since the dawn of time. And I'm especially pleased that we meet today on the traditional country of the Wiradjuri people, who are still such a key part of the Cowra community, which means that when we celebrate our appreciation of Australia, we're continuing a tradition that's not a bit over 200 years old, but more like 60,000 years old. And over that time, the area around the Lachlan River was the site of gatherings where families came together to share their stories, their history, their laughter, and their knowledge, and everything they were as a community and are today, just as we're doing now. And in that capacity, we're honouring all Australians as part of what's certainly the oldest civilisation on earth. And from that rich history, I discovered that you're creating about as modern a version of storytelling as I can possibly imagine. Those who know me I'm hopelessly untechnical, but this really impressed me. The idea of a project called Cowra Voices, which I'm sure you're all aware of, which is quite remarkable, and it's an app which is going to trace the experiences in their own words of people from the first Australians telling their stories, the experiences of people who are in your war cemetery, and residents involved in all kinds of activities, including grassroots reconciliation and other stories unique to Cowra. And this is an extraordinary project that you can all be very, very proud of. And I believe it's going to be launched later this year. It's especially appropriate because this year's Australia Day theme asked all of us, what is our story? It's so easy when we meet people to ask, what do you do? How many of you would ask that as an automatic question? What do you do? And you want to hear that somebody's a teacher, a chef, a retiree, a dad. They're all the different answers. My answer would probably be that I'm a writer. And I've been one since before I knew what a writer was. I just thought everybody made up stories. But our stories are more than what we do. They are part of what we are. Now, I had a friend when I lived in Canberra, we used to meet for dinner, and we were in a cafe in Woden one night, and he looked around and he said, I helped build this place. Now, I knew that his actual job was to drive around one of those enormous trucks that have a crane on the back, and he would deliver building materials to the various sites where new buildings were going up. But he saw it differently. He saw himself as playing a key role in making these places happen, which is why he said, I helped build this place. He didn't just see it as taking materials or a day job or whatever. But after that, I tried to see myself in much the same light. I'm a published author of 90 books, yes, translated into many languages, yes, but that's what I do. That's my day job. Under my friend's way of looking at things, I'm a storyteller, a keeper of the flame of history, knowledge, interpretation. Now, I don't mean that to sound particularly grand, but I just want us all to look occasionally and see ourselves the way my friend did, as being part of a bigger picture beyond our everyday jobs or roles. And that came home to me most strongly when the State Library of New South Wales asked if they could collect my literary papers. My papers? I kind of was thinking of that pile of stuff that's in my garage, and they thought that this was my literary papers. Well, okay, that works. Because they also saw something that I didn't. I just saw old manuscripts and things that showed my writing process and scribbled on, corrected proofs, you name it. But they saw documents that tell you how I arrive at my stories. And to me, this was big deal stuff. Libraries collect the papers of literary greats, not romance writers. At least I was at first. Then I started to think, if there was a disaster coming, a major fire, a flood, something absolutely huge, and we had to find shelter, what would you take with you? I sincerely doubt it would be the complete works of Shakespeare. What you would take is something that would distract you and entertain you as the disaster unfolded, perhaps something you could read to your children. The good thing about e-readers, which I love, is that you can just as easily read a graphic novel as you can read great literature. Now, I like happy endings, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I've never understood the point of stories where everybody we like dies in the end. How many of you actually love that kind of story where everybody you like dies in the end? I'm not seeing a lot of hands. Okay, one hand. We'll talk afterwards. I don't want to read them, and I most assuredly don't want to write them. So by this reckoning, who am I? I'm an entertainer. My stories make people happy, and I think this is a pretty good thing to be. Now, my own story started when my family came to Australia as what are known as 10-pound poms. Are there any 10-pound pom families in the audience? Probably the fewest I've seen in Cooma. It was half the population, I think. But the fact is that I came for free. I'm a boat person, sorry, but I am. My sisters and I came for free, and our parents paid £10 in the money of the time toward their fare to Australia so we could start a new life. And the first time I went back to England and came back here, my mother said, "Oh, I thought you might be cranky with us for taking you away from England." And anybody who's been following Brexit will know why I was not particularly worried about that aspect. And let's face it, in the UK, which is still very much a class-structured society, I probably wouldn't have had half the opportunities that I've had growing up in Australia, because I got here when I was 7, so I can still remember England of that day, and I have been back, but I'm always, it doesn't matter where I go, I'm always very, very pleased to come back to Australia. In fact, I have a theory going that if, instead of running wonderful commercials telling us how terrific Australia is, let's just round up a whole bunch of people and give them tickets to go somewhere else for a certain length of time and see how they feel when they come back here. I know for myself, I'm always very, very happy to be back in Australia. I've been everywhere from Cradle Mountain up to Thursday Island, across the Nullarbor in Kakadu with my late husband, who was also a migrant and coincidentally a former crocodile hunter. So he gave me wonderful stories just before I even got off the starting blocks. He showed me parts of Australia that were scary as they were inspiring. and with such gorgeous men in Australia, I don't have to look far for heroes. Chris Hemsworth? Hugh Jackman, anybody? At one point, the men are exempted unless you particularly like Chris Hemsworth or Hugh Jackman. At one point, Hugh was going to play Houdini on the New York Broadway stage. And when I heard about this, my thoughts immediately went to Hugh in handcuffs. And of course, he would have to escape from a tank of water, which meant he would be wet as well. And they ask writers where we get ideas. It's lovely to be on country which is familiar to me. Our first home in Australia was in Grenfell, where my father managed the local Fossey's store. In England, he was a door-to-door insurance salesman, but he found out very quickly in Australia that the doors are way too far apart for that. So he looked for another occupation and began to train as a Fossey's store manager. And as it happened, he was training in the Cowra Fossey's, which later became Target, as you probably know, when Christmas and New Year came around. And as he was going to be working, he brought the whole family to Cowra and found us a granny flat somewhere. I wish I could remember exactly where, but I was about so high at the time. As long as I could bring my toy doll's house, I was fine. So I feel very much at home here, as I actually spent my first Australian New Year in Cowra, which was wonderful. And I also wrote my first book, which was in pencil in an exercise book in this area. And that book is, goodness knows how it survived, but it's in the State Library collection now. But I had more trouble with things that you guys probably take for granted, like thongs, for instance. My feet just aren't shaped right for thongs. And I've tried telling some American friends that we wear them on our feet, and you should see their expression. But to them, of course, a thong is an entirely different object. And I had the inevitable trouble with Aussie English. I heard someone call another man a galah. Okay, I'd seen birds called galahs. They were very pretty and colourful and rather noisy. So this person wasn't colourful, certainly wasn't particularly noisy. So I finally gave in and asked why he was called a galah. And the answer wasn't a whole lot of help. That's easy, darling, he's a flaming drongo. I've had so many connections to Cowra. Yesterday, my companion Kate and I had dinner with the organisers of this event at the Japanese Gardens. And oh my, what a beautiful place, isn't it? Absolutely breathtaking. And we've made a promise to ourselves to come back when the cherries are in bloom, the cherry blossoms. And we had learned about the Cowra breakout, of course, but how lovely, decades on, to see a tragedy turned into a place that's all about beauty and peace and reconciliation. And one of my writing friends, you may be well acquainted with, Dr. Anita Heiss, whose mother Elsie was born in the Arambi Mission, and both of them are beacons of light for the future. And if you haven't read Anita's novel, Barbed Wire and Cherry Blossoms, which is set in that time and place, I recommend it highly, because it's not only a realistic look at those dark times, but it also takes what another wonderful Cowra alumni, Dr. Laurie Bamblett, calls a focus on community strengths. He would much rather focus on strengths than in weaknesses and on victimhood. He wants to know what's good about being Indigenous, for instance, and I found that quite unusual and a real way of the future. Like most writers, I'm often asked where I get ideas. Well, often it's from meeting people like those of you who I've met so far and will meet later in the day. And yes, from the occasional drongo. And from playing a part in the biggest event on our calendar. So I hope we can all have a wonderful day, and wish Australia a very happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. I think there were some very thought-provoking comments there. Once again, thank you. The Mayor now has a very pleasant duty. I invite him to administer the citizenship ceremony for Mrs. Shelmy Victor.
I would again acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, and I welcome you all to this very special citizenship ceremony, and thanks Shelby for being prepared to be part of our Australia Day ceremony as she becomes Cowra and Australia's newest citizen at the moment. Citizenship ceremony, of course, is conducted under the prescribed rules and regulations as laid down in the Australian Citizenship Act of 2007. And as a Mayor, I'm confirmed as an authorised person to receive the pledge. Of course, making your final step to becoming an Australian citizen is a very important one, but one I congratulate you on. And perhaps remind you that citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australia's traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants, or descendants of people who have come from later times. Citizenship is a public commitment to embracing Australian values and institutions. Citizenship brings responsibilities and duties to obey the laws, to register on the electoral roll, to vote, to serve on a jury if called to do so, and to defend Australia should the need arise. Citizenship also brings civil and social rights, the right to express your cultural heritage and beliefs, coupled with the responsibility to accept the rights of others to express their heritage and beliefs. Our ceremony today recognises that citizenship is a common bond made meaningful because it embraces an understanding of the rights and responsibilities of all people. And indeed, Australia's strength lies in its people. Our people have made Australia what it is, building a nation into a vibrant, open, diverse society which we can all be justly proud of. But no one who applies for citizenship is expected to renounce their cultural identity, customs or traditions. Australia's heritage is indeed made richer by contributions by people from many, many lands. It is important as an Australian citizen to understand how our society works, the democratic principles that guide us, and it is vital to understand how we as responsible individuals can contribute to a better future. But indeed, Australia takes enormous pride in your decision to choose freely to become part of this nation as a fully participating member, and Australia gains by your commitment. So we do extend to you a very warm welcome and congratulations. There are, of course, some formal components to this morning, and I would just point out that there are some legal requirements to conducting this ceremony, obviously conducted by a presiding authority, which I have indicated I am. There are some addresses which I do need to read, and of course Shelby needs to take a short pledge to Australia. We also have to have displayed, as to formally comply with the Citizenship Act 2007, the portrait of the Queen, the Australian coat of arms, the Australian flag, and of course we choose an option to display the Aboriginal flag as well. So I have some legal requirements, and the first one I will do is a letter from the Honourable David Coleman MP, which I am obligated to read. And it simply says, today you become an Australian citizen. We're immensely proud of what we achieved as a nation, and we welcome you in joining us. Our history and culture has been forged over thousands of years, First, through the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and more recently with people from all corners of the earth. Australia has succeeded as a nation by embracing and defending our national values. We believe in freedom, in the rule of law, in democracy. We believe that all people are equal regardless of their cultural background, their gender, their race or religion. We are a resilient nation. We have overcome world wars, depression, drought and flood. We stand with other strong democracies in helping to defend and protect hard-fought freedoms. By committing yourself to Australia today, you have chosen to embrace our nation and its values. Like so many millions of people throughout history, you have dedicated to take on the rights and responsibilities of an Australian citizen. On behalf of the Australian Government, I congratulate you on reaching this very special day. Now, your responsibility to join all of us in building an even stronger nation. Yours, David Coleman, Minister of Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. I'm also obligated to read a preamble, which is part of the ceremony, and the preamble for citizenship ceremonies is thus. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations uniting all Australians while respecting their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations. A, by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people, by sharing their democratic beliefs, by respecting their rights and liberties, and by upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. Now I will take the opportunity to administer the oath. So I will give you a card, and I would point out, ladies and gentlemen, there are two pledges that can be taken, and Shelby has decided to take the pledge that we are about to undertake. So Shelby, can you please take this? And I would invite you, Shelby, to repeat out loud after me, please. From this time forward, under God,
From this time forward under God,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
whose democratic beliefs I share,
whose democratic belief I share,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
I welcome you as a citizen of Australia, and I congratulate you on the decision and the step you have taken. Ladies and gentlemen, let's accept that. On behalf of all Australians, I congratulate you. But on behalf of the community of Cowra, I extend a special congratulations. And I thank you again for being part of this morning's ceremony. It, I think, makes it just a little more special. I now have the honour of signing and presenting your Australian citizenship certificate, and which I will do. And I have pleasure in presenting to you your Australian citizenship ceremony for Shelby Victor. Well done. I will also provide a letter of we can get photos here. Anybody wants a photo, tell us where to please. Photos and cameras are allowed for citizenship ceremonies, so please do what you feel you need to do. I also provide Shelby a letter of congratulations from the Cowra Shire. Also a application form to enrol to vote, if you haven't already done so. And I'll put those in that sleeve so they don't. I'll also provide the pledge card which you undertook the oath on. And on behalf of the Cowra community, may I present you with a small bag of token of appreciation and mementos.
including
So Shelby, thank you and congratulations on becoming Australian citizen and formally a Cowra citizen as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just wheel this thing back over.
Isn't it wonderful to have a ceremony like that? Congratulations. Would you now please take up the cards which you would have had on your seats, and I ask you to please join in the citizenship affirmation. This affirmation has been requested by the Australia Day Council, and we wholeheartedly encourage this pledge. As an Australian citizen, Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I uphold and obey. Thank you. I now ask the captains of the Cowra High School and St Raphael's Catholic School to cut the Australia Day cake. This is their first public appearance representing their schools, so we all congratulate them on their achievements and wish them a successful year ahead. The captains of Cowra High School are Erica Sullivan and Sam Long, and the captains of St Raphael's Catholic School, Hayley Amos and Matthew Terry. Please don't drop it. Thank you to the school captains. I will now announce the winners of the Australia Day School Literary Competition. Would you, as your name is announced, please come up on this stair here, and Linda and the ambassador would perhaps present the certificates to those who are successful. The theme for this year's school literary competition was Australian inventions. In the kindergarten section, first is Tyler McFarlane. His invention was the boomerang. Second was Lily Stevenson, the ute. Lily here. Tyler first. And third was Hayley Ellis, steel braces. Thank you, children. We next have stage one, year one. First is, okay, you can go now. First was Ruby Lewis with the healing machine. Second is Alice Jennings, the chocolate printer. And third was Shelby Ball, the non-melting ice cream maker. some wonderful ideas there. I think second and third may not be with us today. Thank you, Ruby. Congratulations. Stage 1, Year 2. First was Bella Bonham, spray on skin. Second was Jessica Sheehan with Vegemite. And third was Stevie Bassant with the electronic pacemaker. Just hang around and have a photo taken here. Stage 2, Year 3. First was Bella Graham with Anzac Biscuits. Second, Portia Mansley with the cochlear implant. And third, Sarah Rush with the Hills Hoist. Stage 3, Year 5. First was Ellie Jane Woods, the cochlear implant. Sorry, I've skipped one. Stage 2, Year 4. First Felicity Smith with Vegemite. Second, Jenna Oxton Walker with the black box flight recorder. Third was Xavier Roffey with the stump jump plough, but Xavier understands it's an apology. Now stage 3, Year 5, Ellie Jane Woods with the cochlear implant. Second, Madison O'Reilly with the Hills Hoist. Third, Ashley Langfield with the black box flight recorder. Stage 3, Year 6. First, Kai Fitzgerald with the refrigerator. Second was Justice Radburn with sheep shears and David Unipon. And third was Caitlin Rutledge with the Hills Hoist. This year we've introduced a new school award to recognise the highest level of participation in the Australia Day School Literary Competition. The winner of the 2019 School Literary Competition Award is St Rachel's Catholic School, which are represented in the award. Please congratulate all our winners today and take time to look at their colourful entries on the display in the foyer. I now invite the Mayor and the Ambassador to present the Cowra Shire's 2019 Australia Day Awards. There are 4 categories. Dr. Warren Wiley Memorial Award for Arts, Culture and Citizenship, Community Group of the Year, Young Citizen of the Year, Citizen of the Year. The award winners are selected by an independent panel, including representatives of the Rotary Club of Cowra, Cowra Youth Council, Evening Brand CWA, Cowra View Club and the Cowra Business Chamber. The panel noted that although there were limited nominations in the categories for 2019, they all exceeded the judging criteria. The panel were greatly impressed by the calibre of the nominations and the admirable volume of tasks undertaken by the entire group. Nominees are asked to make their way to the stage as the Mayor announces each nomination. Each nominee will be presented with their certificate by our Ambassador. We ask that the nominees remain on stage until after the winner of their category is announced and a group photograph is taken. Now ask the Mayor to please preside over the awards.
Thank you, Ray. The first category that we are going to award is the Dr. Warren Wiley Memorial Award for Arts, Culture and Citizenship. This year, the winner of this award is James Lanham. James, please. James is This not may sound as if it's arts, culture and citizenship, but anyone who attends the shows, as I have done, will proudly attest to James' passion for the community. He particularly engages with the audience following the motto of Insane Championship Championship Wrestling Central West to entertain, inspire and to empower. James supports the community by offering fundraising opportunities to organisations and groups such as Riding for the Disabled and sharing the proceeds within our community. What is most outstanding about James and Western Warfare is the engagement with the audience members, many of them suffer from disabilities that make interaction with mainstream community occasionally difficult. James and the Western Warfare team show the utmost respect to those marginalised members of the community. He has made this unusual sport his passion and made it accessible to the entire Cowra Shire. Ladies and gentlemen, James Lanham.
Thank you, Bill West and Valerie as well, and everyone else present. What an incredible honour it is to be nominated and receive such a prestigious award from and in front of so many respected people on such an important day as today. The nomination came as a total surprise and wasn't anything I even considered being on the cards for me. While I see that wrestling may be a little left of centre, those who've attended the Western Warfare events in Cowra, I'm sure will be able to attest that the shows we put on are art in its purest sense, in that a group of talented, dedicated and like-minded performers from an incredibly diverse background come together to express themselves by putting on an intensely physical performance that takes the audience on a roller coaster ride of emotions and forms a connection that cannot be found anywhere else. While it's true that our shows are entertainment, I think it's to be admired that in this era of real violence and aggression in so many areas of our lives, there are a group of us who would rather go out and pretend to beat each other up than intentionally hurt each other out of aggression or for financial gain. Make no mistake about it though, we pay a heavy physical price for our art. At the age of 30, I have arthritis, sciatica, Schumann's disease, and a long list of other injuries, and I'm currently organising surgery for carpal tunnel syndrome. In fact, the Monday after our most recent show in Cowra, I was so badly concussed I didn't know my own name, and it was far from the first time. Some would question why I still do this then, and the answer is simple. I do it for the people. There is no rush like stepping out through the curtain, and nothing more satisfying than holding up a newly won belt in front of my hometown crowd, knowing that I've done them all proud, and done the people proud who got me to that point, which is exactly how I feel here today. Truthfully, no one can do these things on their own, and this recognition is not just for me. It's for everyone who supported and helped me in any way on this journey. It's a testament also to the amazing group of people I surround myself with, especially with the wrestling promotion I run at ISW Central West. I'm sure if it was any other wrestling organisation made up of different members coming to town, we would not get the level of support we do from community, especially from the Cowra Council and many other groups. So to the entire ICW Central West crew, thank you. To the person who nominated me from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thanks also must go to the Cowra Council for their support, both financial and otherwise, which has made the Western Warfare events sustainable. No town gets behind wrestling like Cowra gets behind us, whether it be those local businesses or organisations who sponsor the events, or the likes of Mark McLeish, who runs the best venue I've ever worked in and could not do any more to make our events a success. A huge thank you to Cowra Special Needs for their continued support and patronage of the Western Warfare events. Our whole roster looks forward all year to the passionate response the service participants give us, with many planning way ahead of time the interactions they'll have or the mementos they'll give those in attendance to help brighten their lives. A massive thank you to Mayor Bill West, who supports us and attends our shows and adds so much prestige and credibility to what we do. Thank you to Lawrence Ryan and Craig Drayton for all they do behind the scenes and on the night. Thanks to Riding for the Disabled for running the canteen and providing ticket staff for us. The professionalism RDA Cowra bring to our shows is second to none, and it's our pleasure to be able to provide them with this fundraising platform. Of course, I wouldn't be here without my brother, without my family, especially my mum Christine, my dad David, my brother Richard, and my grandma Grace, who have for the past 15 years made wrestling their main priority as much as I have. Thanks also to my auntie Lynette, my cousins, and of course my late grandfather, who encouraged me to pursue wrestling at a time when no one else did. So a huge thank you to them and to my friends both locally and further afield, who along with my family basically carry me from show to show, keeping me somewhat sane and making it all possible. As with any accolade I receive, thank you to my mentor and best friend Nicholas Rex Gray and his ICW and his family. Despite serious health issues, Nick continues to run parent company ICW Australia and allows me to run these events as a subsidiary of his promotion. He gave me the platform to live my dream on and is my best friend and one of my best and closest friends who I consider a brother. Every single thing I've achieved in my life is because of Nick, so thank you. Now, I don't think there's any more fitting or heartfelt way to end this than what I said during my championship celebration after the most recent Western Warfare, and that is, thank you, Cowra, I love you.
Thank you, James. Our second award recognition is the 2019 Community Group of the Year. We have two nominees in this category. The first one, the Derby's Falls Progress Association. Derby's Falls Progress Association, this one, Derby's might like to come forward, please. The Derby's Falls Progress Association has been operating for over 30 years to develop and maintain the village of Derby's Falls. This can take many forms, including lobbying for potable water for over 25 years, finally paying off in 2016 with the installation of a water treatment plant. The group tirelessly attend to many maintenance and upkeep tasks around the village, including monitoring, mowing, rubbish removal, weeding of the park, the private cemetery and Uniting Church. They host many annual events such as the Big Morning Tea, cater the annual Cowra Dog Show, participate in Clean Up Australia Day, Old Rose and Flower Show, with the Anzac Day service and Australia Day service and Remembrance service. No small feat for a community of about 150 people. 10% of them are members of the Progress Association. Members also volunteer in other organisations such as the RFS, Rotary, Cowra Show Society, Cowra Art Group, and are very, very strong supporters of the Cowra Urban and Cowra Tidy Towns Committee. Ladies and gentlemen, the Derby's Falls Progress. The second nominee is the Cowra Hospital Auxiliary. The Cowra Hospital Auxiliary has a small and dedicated group of volunteers. Membership in 2018 was 13. They annually contribute approximately 6,000 volunteer hours since recorded in 1996. This totals to over 105,000 hours in that time. Cowra Hospital Auxiliary is the oldest in the state, beginning in the 2nd of July 1881. Yes, that's 1881. In the past 4 years, they've raised more than 121,000 for our local hospital and more than 436,500 since 1988. They do so by seeking sponsorship, holding raffles and street stalls, attending events to sell fairy floss, for example. However, their most successful activity is their Leamington sales. For over 40 years, they've met at 4 a.m. between May and October to these delightful creations. Since 2016, they've sold 7,550 dozen lamingtons. That's 90,600 individual lamingtons. Their nomination specifically notes that this equates to 6.342 kilometres of lamingtons if they're placed into it. Certainly an amazing feat. Ladies and gentlemen, the second nominee for the Cowra Hospital Auxiliary. Do we have something to come up? Thank you, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, before I announce the winner, I think it's appropriate just to acknowledge both our nominees, please. They do a fabulous job in our community. It's my pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen, to announce that the winner of the 2019 Community Group of the Year is the Cowra Hospital Auxiliary. I'm sure they would love to say a couple of words.
Thank you. I have got a bit of paper, I haven't got a good memory. Anyway, thank you everyone, and congratulations all to the Darby's Falls Progress Association. They are a wonderful group of people. We have known them for a long time. But anyway, as Bill said, we are the first auxiliary, and we are a constituted body in 1920. I would like to compliment the members of the Cowra Hospital Auxiliary, past and present, on their excellent record over many years, and also their continued interest and endeavour as evidenced by their constant enthusiasm in looking for new avenues of service. Thank you to the generosity of town and rural people for their support of our organisation to keep it going. A special extension is to all who have helped us over many years. Cowra Auxiliary is still going strong with a group of dedicated voluntary workers raising money for vital medical equipment for Cowra Hospital. We are committed to the task of supporting your hospital and have pledged for 2019 a total of 25,881, and it is only January. Our members accept this award with great pleasure and always will be proud of it. Congratulations to all nominees on their achievements, as Cowra is very lucky to have so many voluntary people in our community. All volunteers are the heart of any community. We thank our nominator. Best wishes to all and enjoy your Australia Day. Thank you.
Thank you, and again congratulations to particularly the Hospital Auxiliary, but to also the Darby's Falls Progress Association. And as they leave, please give them a round of applause. Our next category is the Young Citizen of the Year Award, and we have 3 nominees, and I'll invite the young ladies to come forward as I call their name and start to read their short bibliography. The first nominee is Hayley Amos. Hayley is one of Cowra's rising stars. Her nomination credits her with an extraordinary list of achievements, including Festival of International Understanding Youth Ambassador, 2019 Sir Raphael Skill Captain and Sports Captain, member of Cowra Youth Council, public speaker on social issues, winner of the Longham Leadership and Teamwork Award, Youth Peace Award nominee, and of course Australia Day Award nominee. She has been a strong advocate for social issues within Cowra and those affecting the broader world. Hayley accepts everyone and is known as a friendly and very approachable young lady. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayley Amos. Our second nominee is Stacey Austin. Stacey is one of our more remarkable young citizens. She is homeschooled and participates extensively in the Cowra Shire community. Stacey is a member of the Cowra Youth Council, has shared chairperson duties, ran meetings and acted as a spokesperson for the group on many occasions. During 2018, she undertook an individual project for the Youth Council called Project Upstander, an anti-bullying action for young people. At the age of 16, Stacey has already achieved academically by undertaking university double majors in librarianship and corporate information management. She assisted with organisation of Central West Homeschool community activities, sports day and picnics. Stacey has done all this with a rare autoimmune disorder requiring significant hospital treatment and chemotherapy at the age of 16. Currently perhaps in remission. She is still a very hard-working young lady, and along with her family she has raised money for cancer research. Ladies and gentlemen, Stacey Austin. Our third nominee, Gemma Picconi. The final Young Citizen of the Year nominee is Gemma Picconi. Gemma has entertained the Cowra community through dance and drama for many years. She has performed at school spectaculars, regional drama camp, regional dance ensemble, and dance festival, as well as many local and regional events. Gemma has been a Festival of International Understanding Youth Ambassador, has been on Cowra Youth Council for several years, and is a school prefect and member of the SRC. Gemma has also performed the National Anthem on many local activities, including Australia Day and again today on more than one occasion. In 2017, she was the Lions Youth of the Year winner for Cowra and World Peace Day Public Speaking winner in 2018. She has also represented Cowra as a Seikei Japan exchange student and participated in many representative events during that time. Ladies and gentlemen, Gemma Picconi. We have three charming young ladies. The judges have determined that the winner of the 2019 Young Citizen of the Year is Stacey Austin.
This is an incredible honour, thank you. I'd like to thank the judges for their decision and also congratulate my fellow nominees. I would like to thank my family for their constant support and also thank the Cowra Youth Council. Whilst I've only been on the Cowra Youth Council for a short amount of time, they've taught me the importance of having a voice and using that voice to direct attention to matters on which I'm most passionate. So again, I thank you all.
Thank you, Stacey, and indeed congratulations to you, but also the other nominees. And please, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause as they leave. The final category in the awards this morning is obviously for the Cowra Citizen of the Year. And I have pleasure in inviting Jared Farrow to come to the stage, please. Jared, of course, is our Citizen of the Year and very richly deserved. Jared, or Jed to many, was nominated for a number of reasons. His most prolific volunteer role is with the Cowra Show Society, dating back over 50 years. and incredible commitment. Gerard has organised or been part of Working Bees event management and initiating new events. In joining the Show Society General Committee in 1963-64, he worked in the cattle section, but not satisfied with this role, he developed a second major cattle show, separate to the spring show. He was also a very major part in the annual Dorset Championship, which is incredibly successful now in its 32nd year. He is part of the initial Cowra Wine Show team and continues to assist with this event, recently introducing a new category for the 36th annual event. He's been awarded honorary life membership of the Show Society as a mark of respect for his overwhelming efforts. Gerard is a holder of information for the Show Society. He knows where things are kept. He knows who will need them next, who to contact for particular work, the peculiarities of a certain water and electrical connections, and the cantankerous cool room. Gerard was honoured with the storage shed being named after him as Jed's Shed. He's been nominated for the Agricultural Show Society's Council Dedication Award in 2017 as one of the 3 finalists. His dedication to the Show Society is boundless, but his work for our community doesn't stop there. He's been a member of St Raphael's Parish for his entire life and assisted with the Parish Council, the Finance Committee, the Youth Club Executive, Parents and Friends Association for many years, and for 20 years he's been working to maintain the parish grounds. Jed has collected his less able friends to attend social functions, church, and to the various meetings of the Show Society. He was for many years an active member for the Barony Bushfire Brigade during his farming years, and I know during his days of Junior Rugby League was a very avid supporter and a hard worker for Junior Rugby League as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure in introducing to the microphone, if you'd like to say a couple of words, a very good friend, Gerard Bale.
I didn't think I'd ever be up here in charge of an audience like this. Not for very long now. Pardon me. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, Bill, and our special guest, Valerie. Very big welcome to you, Valerie, to Cowra. I'm sure everyone has taken you around or will take you around, and it was delightful to hear that you almost live in Cowra, that little suburb of Young. Thank you. Thanks, my friends and fellow citizens who nominated me. I've been nominated before, and I felt a little bit this time that it was almost a Steve Bradbury award because if you remember, everyone else fell over and he won a gold medal. So, but nevertheless, I really acknowledge my fellow citizens and thank you very much for thinking of me worthy of the Cowra Citizen of the Year. I'm allowed to ramble on a bit here today, but first of all I'd like to acknowledge my lovely wife Jackie, who's been with me for almost 60 years. And I'm very sure that all over these many years of doing things for other people, she wondered where in the bloody hell I am. But I usually came home. Also, I'd like to acknowledge my lovely family here today. They have travelled from the beautiful coastal sea breeze to Cowra's lovely temperature. And they have been a great support all my life, all our lives, to Jackie and I. At this time, I'll digress a little bit. The mayor, who had nothing to do with voting on this, he was the big boy on the bus when our kids started. And he taught John to control all the others. So thank you, Bill, for instilling into those kids how to behave on a bus. Thank you very much. Anyway, isn't it lovely to see these young nominees here today, to know that Cowra is and will be in the future in great hands. And I really, congratulate you young people on what you achieved. It's been mentioned here today that we do lack volunteers, like probably back in when I was a young fella anyway, but when you look at these young people, you really feel that Cowra is in great hands. I suppose from volunteering and helping people, it was instilled on me, first of all, by my parents, and then as a young man I was in an Apex club, which further enhanced my, shall we say, ability to help people. And also our Rural Fire Brigade, which my fellow Rural Fire Brigade member here, we saved the Barrier Hills many times. And then my life with the Cowra Show Society has been a great deal of pleasure to me, and I thank them, and I suspect that's where the nomination came from. And also to my fellow parishioners at St. Raph's, and then not forgetting all my, shall we say, elderly mates that are still give me a great deal of pleasure more than once a week. And I thank them for being here today. But as I say, it is very easy to be a good citizen in a lovely town like we have Cowra. So many thanks to you all, and we'll hope to see you around our lovely town of Cowra for many more years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared, and again, congratulations on a well-deserved award, and to all our nominees. There is perhaps one postscript on the bus story, and I think John's sitting down there somewhere quietly, which he always did on the bus too, I must point out. But it's part of a community that Jared was talking about, and that is that yes, I was an older kid on the bus when John started school, but when my eldest son started school, who's now 42, Jackie and Jared's daughter Alison was the senior on the bus, so we went full circle that Alison actually looked after my eldest son. I suspect that she had far more trouble than I had with John. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're now nearing the completion of our service this morning, and it's appropriate that I thank the various groups who have been involved and assisted in our celebration of Australia Day. First of all, the luncheon we'll be having with the CWA today, and that's the CWA Cowra Evening Branch. Thank you also to the Rotary Club of Cowra for their barbecue over the road here and the breakfast, the Inner Wheel morning tea, which we're about to enjoy, and the flag raising, which was done by the RSL members. I encourage everyone to participate in the other Australia Day activities. There's free entry to the Aquatic Centre with a jumping castle for the younger kids, a rock climbing wall, free sausage sizzle, giant inflatable, and entertainment from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. by the local DJ Dale W. Australia Day mixed golf at the Cowra Golf Club, tee off at 11 a.m. The Cowra mixed bowls at the Bowling Club from 10 a.m. You'd have to hurry a bit there, but I'm sure they'll fit you in. The antique vehicle display and free sausage sizzle at Bryant Park near the bridge from 1:30 to 4:30 this afternoon, hosted by the Lachlan Valley Social Motor Club. And the fun tennis activities and free sausage sizzle at the Cowra Tennis Club this evening from 5 till 9 p.m. I now invite for Mayor Bill West to present our ambassador with her Australia Day pin and a gift, and then close the service. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. A couple of just things to finalise with, and the first thing is to obviously acknowledge our Australia Day ambassador, Valerie Parv AM, and to say to you, Valerie, thank you very, very much for your Australia Day address. It's been a delight to have you as our Australia Day ambassador. I'm sure we will talk more as the day progresses, and I do look forward to having the opportunity to see you back in Cowra at a more leisurely pace, and particularly around Sakura Matsuri time. So it's my pleasure on behalf of you, ladies and gentlemen, to present you, Valerie, with your Australia Day pin, and also a small token of our appreciation. I would like to also, on your behalf, just a small vote of thanks to our chairman, Councillor Ray Walsh, and congratulate you, Ray, on your chairmanship this morning, so thank you. I hope you're all able to stay and enjoy the morning tea hosted by Innerwheel. As we conclude, we will be playing and singing I Am Australian, and the other comment I would make is that I've been advised that there were 2 people from Cowra who received OAMs, one being Dr. Peter Davison and the other Nikki Howden, or better known now as Nikki Kiss. So congratulations to those 2 people as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being part of Australia Day in Cowra. It's been a wonderful morning. We've been able to highlight just some of the people and the activities within our beautiful, beautiful part of the world. Please enjoy the rest of the day, and thank you for being part of it.
Where's your car? Over there.
I was going to bring a bike, but my battery will do. Did you bring a bike?
G'day, Ralph.
Well, I went back to the RMS last yesterday.
How are you?
Turns out
Looks
my
good.
body number's on the wrong car on their records. They've got my body number on the left-hand side.
That should run down there back all then.
You're all right. Yeah. You were speeding on the way down, weren't you?
Yeah.
Hey, don't worry.
Yeah.
This is the worst, the extreme hot of the extreme cold. Some good news. Nice day of work,
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Bye for now.